morning, whale community. Thank you so much for joining us today for another amazing product showcase. Today, we're going to be discussing the up-and-coming project, Champions Ascension. It is terribly exciting. It's a blockchain game. It's built by JamCity, who's an award-winning game company. And we are going to be talking with their community team, Squiddy, and also Cool, who is the GM for their Toronto studio. So very excited to have you both here joining us. And of course, we have Iliscavia, who is one of our amazing whale community moderators as well. Welcome, everybody. How are you today?
Wonderful. So excited to be here. Very, very, very happy to chat with you. It's been a while.
Yeah, doing great.
And so good to have you here. So to kick us off, I would say I've known Squiddy for over a year now. So, we worked together previously in Top Shot and in the Dapper space, and that's been absolutely amazing. But maybe we could get a little bit of both of your backgrounds in, kind of where you were in the world and how that led you to the metaverse and then to Champions Ascension.
Absolutely. Again, thanks again for just giving me the platform to speak about this. It's very fun, very exciting. I've been a community builder my entire life. Everything I've done has been to just with the intention of just bringing people together, bringing good times, good energy, and just connecting people. It's something I've always loved. But it's been a tough road and it's been a long road to kind of figure that out, right? And when I found the NFT space, it really connected all the dots and all the experience that I had growing up and having those experiences was like, okay, this is what I can do. And now 30 years later, I can finally figure out how to shape it, right? So, for example, when I was I'll age myself. When I was in ninth grade, I started a Facebook group called Every Person on Facebook that graduates in 2010. Next thing you know, there's 50,000 people in the group. So I'm in ninth grade, not doing my homework, right? I'm there on the internet in the early stages of Facebook, moderating and just like messing around with my friends and talking to people all over the world, all over the country who were in my graduating high school class, right? We're just a bunch of 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds chatting with people on the internet. It was all so new. And I thought it was just really cool that I was able to connect with people all over the world. So that was a fun little experience. Moving forward, I'm an avid video game player, so big Pokemon fan, right? Big Madden, FIFA. I love my sports. Again, we'll get to the Top Shot, but one of my original games was Madden. There was a game mode called Madden Ultimate Team. So again, on the message boards, very early stages of the product, and it had its own tokenomics system where you could earn coins by playing Madden, right? So you could do quests, you can win games, you would get coins, you would get cards, and it was just really cool because it combined everything that I loved, which was sports, sense of a market, being able to kind of like grind as a gamer and put in the time. So when I found out about Top Shot, I was like, okay, I've been working as an account executive. I had been doing things in the music industry for a little bit, just really just much of a floater. I never found a true home. And the second I found NBA Top Shot, which is my intro to NFTs, was just like, okay, I'm home. Like this is the space for me. Where's this gonna go? I don't know, but I know this is where I'm supposed to be because it could possibly, if I put in the work and I put in the time, it can give me the opportunity to do what I love best, which is connect people and engage with human beings. I'm like, okay, this is if this space is legit, I could do this just for a profession. So that thought was pretty cool. So I found Top Shot, and as you know, I immediately bugged people. I was like, oh, how do I get involved? Because this is something that like I need to do. Because at the time, hardcore was promised. I was like, okay, I'm gonna be able to own these assets, and I'm gonna be able to play a game with them. But then next year's Madden isn't gonna come out, and all my progress is gonna be halted. So that was like the big thing where everything just like the red pill moment, the thing that clicked for me. So did whatever I could to join the team because I thought, I'm a big basketball fan, big sports fan, and I was very invested in the product. So I spent all my time in the community, just building up the Top Shot community as I could. Was grateful enough to have the chance to be a mod and then get added to the community team. And yeah, then Jam City came calling and they showed me what they were talking about here. And they told me about this game that they were working on. It was just a no brainer. So here I am. So I wouldn't be here without like the NFTs and all those little things, those pieces in my past history kind of led up to being in the community NFT space full time. I just couldn't be more happier to be where I'm at. So now I'm the community engagement manager for Jam City, an awesome game company, and we're taking a huge step into the blockchain space, building this sweet game.
So it's super exciting to see, that journey and how, kind of finding the space where you feel like you fit, and then how to find a niche within that to provide extra value to the community has really paid off for you. It's amazing.
It has, and again, it's just like it all feels like one big dream. And I tell you this all the time, but it's just a lot of fun. It all started again through that Top Shot Discord, based on all the experiences, knowing what I could do in this space and what I could do if given the opportunity, and I just dedicated my time, right? I like to say our most valuable asset is our time. So I wanted to build and make a name for myself. So without being promised anything, I spent all my time in the Top Shot Discord, building community, making relationships, and just trying to be a friendly Squiddy. Shout out to Talking Hoops, which was the go-to channel for me.
Always
Flawless
a
life.
friendly Squiddy. So, and let's hear from Zero Cool as well, because I've been hearing you're the guy behind the game.
Yeah, this is the guy we want to talk to.
How's it going?
Fabulous, fabulous. So good to have you here.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to talk about the game and just like, reveal stuff, say what we're doing, give more detail, because, you can see in our website, there's lots of pictures and lots of, talk about the NFTs there. But I think a lot of people want to know about the tokenomics. They want to know more detail, right? So I'm happy to answer any question literally and provide more detail about it. And my background is I've been programming since I was a little kid, and I always wanted to get into games because I played games. So over time, I built up my programming skills since childhood, and going into my 20s, I was able to finally score a programming gig, and that was to build out like basically a metaverse for people who like stuffed animals. That's what I built, and that product is called Webkins. And I don't know if anyone here owned a Webkins, but it was a stuffed animal that came with a code. You punch in that code into a digital web page, and you get the actual stuffed animal into the game, or in the game. And there's limited print, there's rarity of these animals. So you see how it sounds like NFTs, right? And then you can walk around in this world, in the digital world, and you can have a house, you can buy things for your pet, and like talk to other people. It's like it's wild. It was like Ready Player One, but for for stuffed animals. So I've always loved that type of stuff. I've played all kinds of MMORPGs, like going back to Ultima Online and before that. And then after was EverQuest, World of Warcraft, and all those things. I really like the idea of people being socially connected and being whoever they want to be in a digital space. They take on a different costume or uniform, and they can live out a different paradigm. Like maybe in real life it's stressful for them, but in the metaverse they can be anybody and they can put those stresses away. That's what I really see as a great opportunity. And then of course, I think this is a case for many people, is NBA Top Shot really convinced me that there is a technology that people agree upon between companies, which is the blockchain, that I can start proving the rarity behind these things that we would use in a virtual world, and that the thing that you find or you get is something that you own and you can trade or sell to somebody. And although technology for this has existed before, it was never really something that came to fruition. These technologies never picked up to the point where two different companies would agree upon the same technology. So that's the huge innovation here, is that there's an opportunity now to build something that's rare, limited print, and people can buy and sell to each other. It just seems that's the right thing to do in this type of digital world, because all those years I spent playing those MMORPGs, what do I have to show for it? You know, I have some accounts I could log back into, but I can't take any of that with me, and I can't trade or sell anything. You know.
Man, I am right there with you. I would say I played World of Warcraft for probably a dozen years, and the things in my account, like I still have an active sub just because I don't want to lose them, but I can't do anything with them. And so that was kind of the magic of the NFT space for me as well, was like suddenly I could take those assets and I could port them to something else or create a whole new experience for them, given the right resources or knowledge. But the, potential is really endless. And so seeing you build something like that, I think is really exciting for me.
You can also sell your assets instead of letting them just kind of waste away and be idle if you abandon the game.
Keep them in my guild bank forever. It's fine.
Yeah, our guilds are riches.
Yes. Yeah. So with this game, with Champions Ascension, like we're seeing the characters, kind of scroll by, and I will say I love this one because it has, almost like a paladin type feel with the armor and the colors. But
looking out for the purple ones.
The purple ones are good too. We have a lot of things, because it says with power comes perks. So maybe that's a good place to start, is understanding, what kind of aspects you're going to be rolling into the game. Because when I'm scrolling through the website, we actually saw the kind of trailer video, and I can play that here real quick so that way the community can see a preview of, what it is you have coming, and then we can talk about it. Right, like that's how I feel after watching that, like the excitement of these visuals. And I guess first we can start by telling me, is this a cinematic, is this gameplay, like what are we looking at in this video, and what can we expect?
Great question. So that's all the game. That is legitimately the game. That's how they're programming it. We have screenshots in our Discord of showing like these exact characters in Unity, in Engine. It's just seamless for the team to be able to build a trailer like this, and they're going to be building a bunch more where they're going to be showing how they're exploring the world. They're making their characters walk around and get into fights and battle, and you can already feel a bit of that World of Warcraft feel there, right, to it. And that, I mean, this is something that I think is going to be a big question to the industry. We're going to be asking players basically, like, why do you want to play another game where everything you get, you have to buy from the company, when you can play this game and everything you're earning, you are largely buying from other people, or you're selling to other people. So instead of all the money going to the company, now a lot of the transactions are going to be happening, pretty much all of them are going to be happening between people. So, whatever product you were playing before, why not play this one? That's part of the value proposition. The other is that this is a really expansive game. There are definitely some small teams out there working on some smaller products, and that's okay. There might be a very like niche thing they're trying to fill. In our case, we're going with something that it really is going to speak to everybody. Maybe you want to focus on battle. Maybe you want to focus on forging gear, which you will be able to in our game. Maybe a little bit more focused on the social, and you just want land to make like a pub or something, and that's cool too. There's going to be a lot of options for you, and a lot of iteration over the gameplay, and a lot of different offerings.
Given the high quality visuals, will this be available mobile or PC only?
Oh, absolutely on mobile. So the team builds it on Unity, and they're able to get it on, I would say majority of the devices, majority of the mobile devices, and it is it's going well. Like, yes, there's going to be definitely a goal to try and get a downloadable client for people that really want one. I think there's a lot of people in the crypto space that kind of chill on their laptop, but we also are going to go mobile. And part of the reason why is to help create awareness for crypto gaming. I think there's a massive audience on mobile that is very different from console gaming. And we've seen with our own titles. So at Jam City, we have titles with well over 50, 100 million installs on mobile. So just imagine just the potential there. There are definitely products that are doing pretty well in the blockchain space, very respectable, and they only have a few people logging in per day, right? Like even some of the biggest products on the blockchain right now, like they might have only a few thousand different wallets interacting with the game, like MetaMask wallets and stuff. So yeah, it's good for mobile, and we're really excited for mobile because we might be able to explode this space, kind of bring what Top Shot did for regular collectibles, but do it for gaming.
I think this is going to be really interesting because being able to, as you said, have, a game where you're interested in playing and you're, doing that grinding and that interaction, but then you have control in the ownership of your assets. You can sell them to other people or buy them from other people and kind of stimulate the economy and control it in that way without so much oversight, from right. a third party essentially being, the game development company. They're not playing, they're just, building. So for you, putting something out here like this, I guess what is the thought process there with putting things out knowing that the community is going to largely have control over the economics and the assets themselves?
Yeah, the great thing about the space is the acceptance of the limited quantity of things, and then that's the way that we can guide the economy from the top. But then the interactions, how the players decide what the value is behind things, is really up to them, and that's okay. Another vehicle we have to control the economy and help it, because we've certainly seen some products that kind of got away with themselves with the economy, is teaching. So part of the perks of owning a Prime Eternal, beyond all these like tokens and enhancements and pets and everything, is there's a special access where we teach game design to owners. And when we teach, we're going to be holding AMAs, we're going to be holding game design sessions, and it is going to be something where the community is going to make decisions, but we're going to teach them and guide them. And I think that's going to be very powerful for them to make informed decisions. When we are talking more on the tokenomics side, the way to guide the economy there is that we are going to have, of course, we have data analytics teams. We have really experienced game economists. And so we'll be monitoring token output, and we can control that. So in the other games you see in a space where they might have run into economic problems, they're usually focused around overbreeding. And we got quite a few solutions to handle overbreeding. So first is that we've worked out the mathematics beforehand, so we can limit how much something can be bred in the first place. We can also toggle the costing of breeding so that demand stays between the players. I think a wall some games have run into recently, and I typically don't throw shade on competitors. I don't name them, but is they focus a little bit on their own company token instead of the players. So they're kind of like, they're dipping into blockchain, but they're still acting like, well, the old school games, so to speak. And that means they're trying to drive the company money instead of between the players. For us, the success will be when we get, worldwide exposure, and everyone wants to come to our game because they really see, oh, I want to go breed a champion, but I'm definitely sending that money to another player instead of the company. That's when it's going to click for them that, okay, it's worth it because, there's a good economy in place, and then people will value each other's tokens. So there's things we can control, and then we're going to guide people when they're trying to make their decisions.
And I think that's really interesting because, as you mentioned, breeding and being able to create your other players. So these are the prime Eternals, right? And then there are 10,000 of those, but this will be something that, once the 10,000 are out in the ecosystem, we'll be able to essentially breed these together to get more champions?
Great question. So these prime Eternals, the way they're classified as the prime and eternal, those will not be something anyone can ever get again or even be able to breed. So they will be they're basically a founder's edition of this game. And the reason why we want to keep it small is, one, the rarity, but two is these perks, like following up on teaching people, following up on communicating with them, and then making it something that's just generally in demand. 10,000 is the right number. That's seemingly the right number for drops. And when drops get bigger, they're not rare enough. So the Prime Eternals really are like the respected, the founders of the game, so to speak. In the future, you can work towards breeding regular non-Prime Eternal champions that don't have perks. Yes. And those regular champions, you have to see them more as like, if you see the movie Gladiator, well, they're not the hero necessarily, but they can work and aspire to be a hero of the universe. Kind of like, in World of Warcraft, you start at level 1, right, so to speak. So you got to work your way up, take the risks, take the challenges, and there's a lot of potential for that.
And I think that's interesting because one of the things that I had been talking with Squiddy about, right, is I saw on the website here, these are, they're right here. The NFT champions that are immune from death. So, we saw that they were battling in, that cinematic earlier, or the, I guess, video of gameplay. So it's not a cinematic necessarily, but, they were battling and one was defeated, but these ones are immune from death. And you're saying that the ones later on maybe are not. So that's, almost like, if we're comparing it to old World of Warcraft, kind of doing the Iron Man challenge where once you die, you're just done and you have to start a new character. It's, not the regenerative sort of. So that's an interesting way, I think, not only to continue to drive demand for future breeding, because if you lose a character, you're going to have to replace it, but also to keep the supply under control, because obviously people, at some point, are going to be excited about breeding these and they're going to make more, and then you're going to have a bunch, but as they go through the gameplay and the battles and, end up meeting their fate,
Yeah.
that can definitely be a good lever, I think, to make sure that you don't end up with that, oversupply of champions. So that's interesting if I'm understanding that correctly.
Yeah, exactly. Is that the regular champions, definitely you want to put them in risky situations, and that is going to help control supply to a large degree. There is also the fact that gear is involved in the game and crafting gear. So even if you were super rich, like I give an example, like Elon Musk comes into our game and starts breeding champions because he can pay, right? Well, everyone in the game gets paid by Elon Musk, but also he may have all those champions, but what is he going to do with them without the gear long term? He's going to have to go and get gear from people. So even if someone breeds too much, you can feel rest assured in the future that they're going to still need things from you. They may not need more champions from you, but they're going to need your gear in different ways. So that's like a multiplier on our economy to help create more sinks where the tokens that you're earning can actually go somewhere, and they're not going to become overabundant. But certainly the risk of the champion being put into matches where they could be burned on the blockchain, which is like a death, they would reduce in supply, which is good.
Would they, I guess, when they get reduced in supply, if they're is the gear attached to them? Does the gear get burned with them? How does that work?
Yeah. So when it comes to that point, when you're taking a risk to be burned, there is like you're accepting that going into a certain type of arena, and the reward is probably worth it for you. So like you can use the elements that came back from being burned into using it for something. I noticed some games have jumped into that right now recently. One of them is offering like land decorations for burning your NFT monster. And, that doesn't really fit the story, but in our game, I think it fits the gladiatorial story. And it's just something that you can choose to accept. And we're going to have different forms of it. And when I say different forms, we're going to work on iterations and variations. Like one will be like, oh, your low level champion will be burned, but you keep the gear. And then another one will be like, okay, you could lose potentially everything, or the other person you're playing is going to take it for keeps. I think that's something that was popular in the schoolyard, right? So
that sounds like the PvP, WoW, where you get defeated and everything, potentially that you're holding. And I think that was that in EverQuest too. Everything that you're holding, you end up dropping, and then the person who vanquished you was able to take your stuff, and that made for a lot of trips back to the bank to make sure you weren't carrying more than you were willing to lose. But that's interesting thematically, because obviously when your champion falls, they collapse on the ground, they're toast, but their armor wouldn't necessarily expire. So having ways to regain that, I think, is interesting.
Yeah, and there's going to be lots of chill fights too. So like we definitely want to encourage vibing in the game. We have a very positive Discord, and we're going to make that happen in the metaverse. Is that like you can see in our Discord just how wildly like supportive people are of each other. So it can't be all super high risk. There definitely will be chill matches too, for the most part.
Yeah,
And
we actually. I was going to say we had a member of your Discord actually pop into the Whale Discord to
Awesome.
Vouch for it being the most positive and supportive and helpful communities they've ever been a part of. So shout out to TNR there for bringing the Death Gang into the Whale server, telling us about this.
Death Gang is everywhere. Death Gang shows up anywhere. That's too funny. Death Gang.
They've shown up to represent. So
yeah. They've been recruiting hard, and it's been a valiant effort. I have to choose my house soon. It's coming up. I would see how much longer I can milk that. But they got it going on over at Death.
That's actually a segue to the question I was going to ask. Given that a lot of this discussion just now was about PvP, like player versus player, but I know that you have the houses. How are those going to interrelate to make it more of a community collaborative element, as opposed to just like every man for themselves? And just for full disclosure, when I joined your Discord back in December, I chose Library of the Arcane. I know that you could still swap, or at least change allegiance up until a point. But I also want to understand if there are sort of special elements or attributes that each house has that sort of you can, I don't know, if you can imbue your character with certain attributes based on that allegiance.
These are all good questions. So the neat thing is we have the houses, which are kind of like the clans and guilds of MMORPGs. And this is going to interrelate probably into like how you're also looking into land and like physical houses in the game and what you're going to be building. There are definitely things that could be interrelated with your gear. And I would say that it's going to be interesting to it's going to be an interesting challenge to balance all this, but we do want to provide distinguishing factors about like how you're aligning yourself in the game and how you're grouping yourself with people, but not in a way that one would be definitely better than the other. When it comes to the house's effects, I would say that leaderboards are going to be very, very interesting. So you're going to have an incentive to want to pull like some of the high quality fighters into your house, and then we're going to see how it pans out on the leaderboard. And what we typically do with the Jam City games is like we have hourly, daily, weekly leaderboards and such that have really cool rewards. And so we can describe, your performance to see like how do you do on that leaderboard versus the other houses. But we need to also provide incentive for the houses that people are not choosing. Like there may be one that everyone goes to, and then they say, hey, we won. So we have to balance that carefully. And in some ways, that some games that do that handle that, where there's a guild or a team that's has less population, is they give them a boost until they catch up. So those are some interesting challenges we have to look forward to. But I would say that it's definitely coloring our game design, and everything we think about in the game. We're thinking about like the political intrigue and how people are aligning with each other. It's definitely a strong way to promote like social activity, and that's something we want to carry over into the game.
So a question that I saw actually in the Twitch chat, and then it was followed up by the conversation we're having, right? We've talked about, the guilds, and so there's guilds that you have to choose from, and you mentioned pulling in strong character types. So how does this game break down? Like, because we're looking at different kinds of characters, I think visually.
Yeah.
But what do we have to choose from here, or to be surprised with Mint, I guess, depending on how that works?
Yeah, there's 10,000 Prime Eternals. They're actually all like different mixtures of parts, and those parts play an impact into your abilities, and then the gear can augment that and make it further unique. So when you are getting a Prime Eternal in the drop, you're getting a random one, and then they're also of different how do you say, like they're basically of different tiers of rarity. So you could get the super rare Prime Eternal, which could be really neat. And we're going to try to balance it so everyone has a fair shot in battles, but certainly some are more rare than others. Some have different traits, and you might want to swap with people. Like you might have one that feels more aligned with you that someone else has. You might want to swap or buy it. But the Prime Eternals are largely like, that's for being like the Founders Edition type. When it gets to breeding and you're building out your individual champions for certain types of battles, there's going to be a lot more strategy in how you build it out. And the strategy is going to be, what parts are necessary. And the parts affect your moves, your move set, and the effects of your moves. So there's going to be a lot of strategy in like, okay, should I go get this other Prime Eternal? Should I breed a certain way? And then of course the gear is like an amplifier, a way to further distinguish yourself, both visually and moveset wise.
Right. I think that's going to be really important for people to be able to, I guess I don't know if you're going to be providing a list of, all of, once the mint happens, all of the things that are available, or if it's something the community is going to be discovering and compiling on their own, because I know that's something that's really amazing about the space, is how quickly the communities tend to gather up all of the available information, and then, figure out amongst themselves. But from the time that the Prime Eternals mint, they're going to have these abilities, perhaps that will be various suitabilities for battle. And when are we expecting the game itself? Is there a timeline for that?
Yeah. So soon after the mint, we're rolling out staking, which is both staking for tokens, but is going into formats of gameplay. So what I mean by that is you're going to stake your Prime Eternal, which everyone should. I mean, I'm going to stake mine so that I can get the tokens. And that's going to reduce the supply off the market, increase demand. But then as you're staking, we're building forms of gameplay so that while your Prime Eternal is staked, they can go off and do things for you, so to speak. Like they can go on missions, they can go on, participate in, kind of like a player versus environment type battles and so on, and also some PvP. And that's going to come soon after that one. That's probably going to be a little bit more focused on our web delivery as we're building out the 3D game. Now, the 3D game is playable right now. Like there are people who fight in the office in that 3D format, but looking into it, I think we need to put a lot more work into like the balancing of the moves, like expressing the special abilities, the animations on the abilities. So when that becomes a little bit more fleshed out, we're going to start pulling in Prime Eternals for beta, basically. So Prime Eternals are going to get to play with us and like before any release, provide the feedback. We're going to work together with them on the feedback. And what we hope is that with this iterative type of gameplay development, like we're working with the Prime Eternals, that it's ambitious, but we're looking at like something for the summer that people can actually play and fight with each other in full 3D, and they can do something that they find really impressive. Like that's what we're shooting for in that side. But at the same time, you have to look at the product like a theme park in a sense. Like it's like a bike wheel with spokes, meaning at the center is your NFT. Your NFT is like the Hollywood star. And then there's many different movies they can be part of. And one of the movies is, I can be staked for rewards on the blockchain and, be sent off on missions and stuff like this, or, a staking tournament. And then another movie they can join in is the 3D mobile client, and take part in that and so on. And we're going to be building different products over time for the Prime Eternals to give them utility and give them interest, and cool things for them. So I think that's something that's really interesting, is that the more chances that your Prime Eternal can be used, and they're like a brand, they're like an iconic brand of this central Champions universe, the more interesting it's going to be for you. And I think something that I bring this up in some talks, but I don't think everyone heard, is that with Jam City, you have all the brands that we have access to. You think about Harry Potter, Disney, everything, right? I do think there's going to be brands that are interested in working with us. So you could think another movie for your NFT is like, oh, well, now they're wearing whatever, like Nike shoes or something, So, and then what are they doing in that game? Well, it's going to be different. Like you have the apes, and they had the Adidas deal, right? So we're going to be looking into that as well. We have strong relations with brands, and I do think there's different products for this movie star, so to speak.
Wow, that is super exciting. Like having so much potential for your characters, not just the game that you're building, but also, kind of external to that. And that's the magic of the metaverse, really having the versatility to take your assets, that you own, and give them a life of their own.
Yeah.
Does that also mean that the owner of the Prime Eternal retains commercial rights of that character if there were a tie-in in the future?
Our rights are, I think they're different. They're more like aligned with all like the different game rights, meaning I'd have to pull out like our terms of service and everything to go over it with and send that out to you. But it would be more of a sense of like, you are going to be given all these different offerings, and you can participate in them with your Prime Eternal. Like you have the right to use and sell it, to own it, and you can join in anything someone is building for them. And so, you really are the movie star, so to speak. But like in terms of like rights, in terms of like if you draw your own Prime Eternal to try and sell it and everything, I would double check our terms and rights. I think it's very similar to Axes or Illuviums in that sense, or like the big gaming blockchain games.
Okay, and that is, I think, really helpful for people to know too, is they're, getting their Eternals and they're getting very excited about it, and knowing, kind of the boundaries in which they should probably at least double check before they skip over.
Yeah, it's a long read.
And that's part of the space, right? Is doing your own research, making sure that you're DYOR, man. You're making sure that you know what it is that you're getting into, because a lot of times, like, obviously this is a really exciting project, and I imagine the FOMO is strong looking at these amazing Eternals. So, making sure that people are doing more than just glossing over is important. And definitely Zero Cool having you explain a lot of that is really helpful for people to understand more about what it is you're building. I think the thing that we've been seeing a lot in chat is actually questions about the whitelist and this private sale beginning in one day. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that. And Squiddy had some information about these details earlier too. What are we looking for time-wise? Because he's going to have a busy week.
Yep, definitely a busy week. So again, the private sale starts tomorrow. Again, it's going to be for its 0.3 ETH. Now there's a question about how we kind of came about that, and then we got the Dutch auction on Friday for the public sale, starting at 1 ETH, going down to 0.4 ETH. So, Steve, Zero, you want to talk about how that the price kind of came about?
Yeah, sure. We were looking at a lot of different projects and thinking about what's the right price point to ensure that like it starts off healthy and that for the people that are participating in the Dutch auction as well, they don't feel that they missed out on anything too insane in terms of pricing. Like for example, if we had the WL list priced at like 0.01 or something, there may not be the motivation on the public sale to consider what the base price would be. So that was a very tough decision. And we were looking at a bunch of projects that more recently they were selling out well over above 1 Ethereum, and we also didn't want to be there either. And we certainly could have. I mean, looking at those projects, as much as some people were saying, I would say like unfair comments about Pixelmon. I think you've seen that drop, right? So a lot of people were saying, they were saying after the fact, oh, I always knew Pixelmon wouldn't be worth this much or that much. They still sold out at well over 2 Ethereum, which is wild. And there's a lot of other brands as well that like Azuki sold out in a few minutes at 1. And I thought that was too high. Although we could have put the price there, and then I think there would be definitely demand and sellouts, because certainly like if you think of our project compared to a lot of projects in this space, you have a large company backing this one, you have full teams, 100% all in, like really like deeply invested. One of our recent news announcements notes how like over 50 people are on this and everything. And these other projects are selling out above 1 Ethereum, and they have like just a few people allocated. They're working hard, but they only have a few people, and they don't even have a game team, prior to the drop. So it's like we're comparing ourselves with what's on the market, and at the same time not wanting to overprice. And I'll tell you why. I think some of these projects that did sell extremely well for 1 or above Ethereum, I think the commentary that came after was probably very unfair for them. And so we want to avoid some of that sentiment and unfair commentary, because I think long term, when you see the staking rewards, and we can touch upon that, what they really mean, the tokens that you're going to get for owning a Prime Eternal, they're really, really powerful and they're really valuable. Like in terms of like, there's a lot of demand out there on the market for land, for example. You might have seen the recent, I like to do shout outs to Molyneux. His legacy game, he sold like $50 to $100 million of land within days, right? That's wild. There is no game built, nothing. You can't play the beta, you can't do anything. In fact, the game trailer he has, that may not be in game at all. In fact, it probably isn't. And in addition to that, it just shows you throwing coins at bears. So let's absorb that fact for a second. There's a trailer out there with someone throwing coins at bears, and it sold $50 to $100 million of land because there's land. And I wish I was joking. And what we see there is like there's a lot of demand for land, and so the Prime Eternals, they get a token Masina, which you accrue over time that you can actually trade in for land, that's pretty unbelievable. But even with that perk, we didn't want to price it at, say, 5 Ethereum or 11 Ethereum. I just seen another project start at 11 and somehow they sold out, which is wild, right? We're trying to start at a reasonable amount so that we can get a lot of different people of different demographics involved. And so it is a little bit higher priced than a project that, you know, is kind of started by 2 people, but it's much cheaper than a project that has like the 5-member team or is starting to look into a game. Like, so it's kind of in the middle. It's in the middle road. But I would say this is very interesting. The fact that those projects sold out above 1 Ethereum so fast, like in minutes, in many cases, and then people went on Twitter and then said kind of like rude comments. Those are a lot of people who missed out on the drop. It means to me that there's a lot of demand for game NFTs in this space, and that's exciting. And then the people who are missing out on the drops, they're saying those comments are quite unfair, I would say. So that's why we reeled it back, and we hope that you know, that we put a price in place that's not above Ethereum, right? Above 1 Ethereum. Now that said, there's also a risk of being a low price. So I'll tell you the risks. Even when we start the Dutch auction at 1 Ethereum, because we've seen these other projects sell out so quickly, there is a risk that someone comes in and buys like as many champions as they can, right? So we wanted to be at a price that would kind of discourage that. It would make them pause and think about it and prevent a gas war. I don't know if you've been in part of a gas war in any drop, right? It can drive the cost of gas on Ethereum above the project's cost. So if you place the floor of the Dutch auction or your WL list to a very low floor, what will happen is everyone will just buy at the same time. And then the gas price will cause the NFT to be far more than 1 Ethereum, like far more. And then actually none of that goes to the project. It goes to the gas fees. So these are the thoughts I'm trying to portray to the community, is like, that's the strategies you have to think about when you're going to a drop. There's no right or wrong answer. All we know is that going above 1 Ethereum has drawn some negative attention to some projects. Being too far below has put other projects in a situation where one person owns most of it, and then they disrupt the economy. I think for us, like, we're trying to avoid a situation where a person has submitted many wallets, and because the price is too low, they then own too many champions. And you can create many wallets very easily. I don't know if you've tried, but it's like there are some drops where I've seen, like, there was a really well laid out drop from Mechaverse a while back, right? And they tried to do all these things like raffle, whatever, you know, all these different steps to prevent a single person from buying out. And I remember the first tweet that came out in the drop was like, hey, I set up like 500 wallets and this is how many I bought. And so you can't stop them. You can't stop someone that wants to bully and buy out everything if the price is on the lower side. So what they can do with that is they can take up all the tokens that we wanted to be allocated to different people in different houses in the game. Like, imagine one person on the death side. I'm not saying this will happen, but imagine a person on the death house. They go and they get whatever 9,000 Prime Eternals. They're going to be able to buy all the land, right? They're going to be able to get all the land tokens and then buy up a huge swath of land. And then it's going to be kind of like, so I'm from Canada. I don't know if you can tell by the accent. And in Canada, we have that problem in real life. Like, we have corporations coming in and buying up swaths of land, like buying up entire streets and then shooting the price into the moon. And as much as I think like some companies might want to do that, we're trying to mitigate that. Anyways, those are the different pros and cons of being low price and high price. And like, it can just give you a picture of how difficult it is to price your drop these days.
Yeah, I appreciate that transparency too a lot. Again, even just from being someone who's on the team, right? Because again, those decisions when it comes to pricing, that's above my pay grade. I can give my experiences for like buying NFTs, right? Versus like what's going on, and can continue to say what's happening in the space and how people are reacting. It's not gonna, no one's ever going to be fully happy about it, and there's so many different factors that go into it. So it's just I appreciate you sharing that with the community. Zero.
That's good. And then I think the follow-up question people usually have is like, what is a Dutch auction, and then what's the mechanics of it? So it starts at 1 Ethereum, but it drops in price. And again, our hope is that the initial start at 1 Ethereum discourages a gas war and everyone buying at the same time. And then as it drops in price, you decide the price for you. You decide what is the NFT in terms of value to you, and you get to jump in at your time, and hopefully it creates more individual unique buyers. And then people will ask, well, what's the time period it drops over? Some people have asked for more time for the drop. So I'm definitely going to confirm later, but I believe we're at 48 hours for the Dutch auction instead of 24. There are some Dutch auctions that are like 5 hours or 1 hour, and we elongated it.
I've seen historically Dutch auctions kind of referred to as a game of chicken, where you start with the high price and you know it's going to a lower price, but at what point do you kind of snatch up a mint before they get so low that everybody buys them? Like that's
a great question.
A definite, I think, thing to keep in mind, that as the price drops, you're going to have a lot of people watching. So
I have one Dutch auction experience, and that's for physical sports cards. That's how they're kind of doing it these days, because then it shows what the people are valuing at, and again, that's something that no one can control. Only the people and the interest can control, and as that grows over time. So yeah, it's I'm very much looking forward to seeing how it plays out.
Sam, I'm super terrible at those, because I'm always like, oh my gosh, I need it right now.
Yep. If it's something that I need, I want, it's like, all right, I'm buying. And if I think it's gonna sell out, then it's like, oh, I'm buying. Let's make it happen. But that's just we're crazy collectors, Candy.
Yeah, I'm a terrible market for this. Oh my goodness. But it sounds like there's a lot of really exciting stuff happening, and you've got this, early minting starting tomorrow. And oh, I don't know if we covered this, maybe I missed it, but when the mint starts tomorrow, for the people who have this early access and they do the mint, are they going to be able to see their champion right away? Are those insta reveals? Is there a delay on that?
So it's going to be a few days before the reveal, and when the reveal comes out, I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised that we're putting a lot of thought and effort so that your champion is going to be used like our goal is that you would want to use it as a profile picture, and that you're going to be able to look at it like in a 3D view and stuff. So yeah, there's people who have had that question. It's gonna be a few days, because we're gonna let the sale settle a bit. There's probably a lot of people that we're gonna have to be trying to help out with the sale live as well. And when it gets revealed, you're gonna be able to see it in OpenSea in different angles and looks and feel. And then again, we hope that you set it up as a profile picture, and we'll help people out and troubleshoot that.
And that's helpful. And we had another question actually in the chat, wanting to know, will buying early in the mint tomorrow give you a better chance to get a more rare Prime Eternal? I think this could also be applied to things like serial numbers if you have them, or is that random distribution amongst the entire collection?
Yeah, it's completely random. I don't know what I'm going to get, I'll tell you that. So like even my drop is not rigged at all. I'm participating as a regular person, and I don't know, it's gonna be really down to like, there's a lot of luck involved, and there's different rarities, like I said, of the actual primes. And we're also thinking of things for like when you're in the drop, like what would be some exciting events we can have on the Discord and everything like that. That's what we're thinking about right now.
Also, on top of that one, Zero, if someone purchases a Prime Eternal on the secondary,
Mhm.
they'll still be able to get perks, correct? You don't
Correct.
just have to mint it. It's just like holding it at the time when these perks are activated. I want to clear that up to people where, okay, you're not unavailable to perks if you don't get it on the mint, and if you do purchase on the secondary, you still have the same exact access. Is that correct?
Yep. It's whoever is the current owner of the Prime Eternal is the owner, is the owner of that Founders Edition that has those perks, and you get imbued with all the perks. And so yes, you can buy it off a secondary off other people, and you inherit the perks. However, that also means that the person selling loses their perks. And there is a very good case for holding long term to accrue your land tokens and your diamond tokens, which I think it's not just a Molyneux game. There's so many games out there that have less work, like in smaller teams, put into their trailers and everything, and they've sold land. You can take a look at land sales. Just go on Google and type in like blockchain land sales, and they're just wild. And these are even from things that are just not released yet. So, yeah, I think I don't know. In my view, I'm holding mine. Like no matter what price it is in the market, I'm holding mine when those tokens start accruing, and they accrue for the long term. We've had some questions about that, like how long do you accrue tokens for? Once you start staking, they're just going to start accruing, and we're looking at like a daily type cadence or a cadence to the tokens actually being available. You can grab them at any time you want, or you can grab them later, and they just keep accruing. And we have some great sinks for that. So they're economically controlled as well, meaning when we release things for people to spend their tokens on, we'll be monitoring like, well, how many tokens do people have? Okay, and we can set it around that price point. So you can see that over time, the Masina tokens and the diamond tokens are always going to have something great for you to spend on. And again, you have to be the current owner to be able to do that. So someone who, and also consider this, if you're buying a Prime Eternal from somebody else, do you know if they were staking or not? And do you know, are you getting those coins? So those are some questions you have to think about. That's why owning your own and then staking it over time is probably a better idea in the long run, is that, well, you can stake it and you're getting those coins for yourself. If you're buying a Prime Eternal from someone else, they're probably not going to give you the coins. They may be selling the coins separately, right? The coins that we're providing for you as part of the perks, they're ERC20 coins or tokens that can be put up on a decentralized exchange and sold for Ethereum as well. So they could be sold for cash and other valuables. So that's something to think about when you're buying on the resale market, is get a Prime Eternal before the staking starts, and then start staking.
So definitely something for people to keep an eye out. And those would theoretically start being available on the market as early as tomorrow after the sale, even though they're unrevealed, which is always an interesting time to buy NFTs, because you might get an absolute gem and you might get one that does not match your collection at all. So it really varies, you know, as you're rolling the dice.
It'll be a fascinating few days.
Yeah, you could get something. So I'll tell you, I'll drop some numbers that no one's heard about. So this is a leak. Is that there is a 14.
We love alpha here.
Okay, good.
We love alpha.
So there's a around a 14% chance that a part could be divine, and so there's a further rarity inside there. Beyond having like cool parts and certain types of parts having different rarities, is that there's a divine chance, or like basically a chance for the part to be divine. And as you can imagine, having more divine parts is something that is going to be sought after. I think there's going to be some demand for that, because they're really, really cool. Besides them looking cool, they will do some, a little bit different things. So just imagine, like, you could have a Prime Eternal with mostly divine parts sitting in your inventory, but you wouldn't know until the reveal. So that's part of the exciting build up towards the reveal.
That is definitely exciting. That sounds like a thing that I'm like, I can't possibly ever let them go, just in case.
Yeah, just in case. And divine parts also, I mean, they're so vivid that they actually affect your profile. Like they're so like different looking and can also impact your the portrait of the character.
Wow, so
Shout
this
out,
is
shout
going to
out to
be
Emmanuel.
this is so exciting. You said that was a 14% chance. That's
Yeah, for each part to be potentially divine.
your odds are pretty good. Like, and how many parts are there total?
Oh, there's a whole different bunch of parts, but there's 5 in particular that could be potentially divine.
All right. So that's really good information to have for these champions. Oh my goodness. So
Wow.
excited.
I'm so
Tomorrow's
excited.
the day. You can see
I'm
the
so
excitement on
excited.
Squiddy's face too. The community also seems to be excited. They're in the chat and they're definitely hyped up about this. So thank you for that information. So I know at this point I've had you guys here a bit longer than our scheduled time, so I don't want to make you stay all day, but is there anything that we haven't yet touched on that you think is important for the community to know, about what it is, that you're building here with Champions Ascension?
I just want to say too, Candy, again, we're in your time. We give Zero Cool a topic. We give him a space to talk champions. This happens in private all the time. He can go for hours, as I'm sure you can hear, which we love, which is what we love about him. So we love doing this. You see my face. I'm having a blast. I know he is as well. So yeah, and there were some interesting questions in terms of the specifics. I don't know anything else, Zero, that you kind of have on your mind right now. There was one. I know we
Mhm.
talked about like the tokenomics a little bit.
Mhm. Oh, actually, that could be good. I don't know how many people are here from our Discord, but let's put it this way for the tokenomics. A few people were asking about the white paper and stuff, and we have the white paper finished. It's over in the legal team's hands. What I can tell you, I hope I'm not breaking any rules. This is another leak. Is that so? There is a earnable token that you go into the arena you're fighting for, right? This earnable token is the one that everybody else in the game needs for many, many different things. So while in other games they run into, again, that breeding problem where it's only used for breeding. So you go fight, and let's say in Axie's case, you go fight, you get SLP and you need that for breeding, right? That's one sync. In our game, when you're playing, you go into the arena, you're getting that earnable token. Everyone needs it for literally everything they're doing in the game. And there are so many different vectors. There's breeding, but there's also gear. There's so many different aspects to the gear crafting that there are many, many syncs along the way as you're making gear. There's land components and more. So there's multiple syncs, and then there's only one way to earn, and that's the fighting. You can earn that earnable token, like the fighting token. So it really improves the economic outlook, right? Then next, there is a governance type token, which is kind of like the ecosystem, we call it token. And this is a token that we'll be using for assisting with marketing and expenses and stuff. And that's something that you've seen in some games, like Illuvium has the ILV, right? And Axie has the AXS token. We will be building and planning out our own token. And so the alpha there is that if you're a Prime Eternal, on the perks, it says Prime Eternals get early access to everything, right? Are amongst the first. I get questions all day about, oh, when can we buy a token? So you can't buy the Masina token. You can't buy the Diamond token. You really have to own a Prime Eternal to build up those. But if you want to be early access to land sales, if you want to be early access to our ecosystem or governance type token, which you've seen in many games, there's a lot of demand for that. Being a Prime Eternal gets you in. It gets you in there. So that's generally the tokenomics there, is that we're one-upping what we see in the in the space. We have more syncs, and we don't need to sell tokens to venture capitalists and VCs for funding. So that means that the Prime Eternals are going to get a potential to hop in and interact with these tokens, potentially even buy them.
If there's a governance type token, does that mean that eventually there will be a DAO where everything is run by the community?
That's a good question. So we've seen again a few of these games set up some sort of DAO system and voting system, and they didn't really follow through with it. And I wonder if it's because they think that the game would get just voted in the wrong way, potentially, right? In our case, we're going to have utility for the governance token, like some in-game utility, and also impact into the game, like effects. But we're also going to be careful that, like as we're teaching the Prime Eternals game design, we're going to have them informed about the decisions they're making before they vote and before they decide upon things. And we're also going to be very careful about it, that it doesn't disrupt the economy. So there will be a use case. There'll be utility and uses for this token in a game manner, like impacting the game. But it's not going to be a case where it can run like kind of like out of control. Because just imagine like someone buying all the tokens and saying, well, for one day, I'm going to vote that I can breed a bajillion champions. You know, like there's definitely an opening for nefarious use of that.
You could totally change the power scaling for specific traits and
yeah, exactly. The person might own
the game.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe they have all divine parts, and then they're like, okay, I've declared now that the divine parts can auto win all the time, and then it's like, okay, great, you just ruined the game. But yeah, it's tough.
It's
It's
fun
tough
for one
balance.
battle, and then
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, definitely a scenario where with great power comes great responsibilities, and making sure people are educated on how to use that before they're given the control, I think is important.
Totally.
It's good that you're thinking about that for sure.
Yeah, and I just want to give everybody that confidence is like, yeah, your game is going to be, again, like we're quite stubborn when it comes to like being invested in our games, and we don't give up. Like Jam City's been running them. You can see several of our games are coming now to the 10-year mark, and they still have fresh installs every day, and we still create new content for them. So we're looking at this as like the super long term. And so you can be rest assured, like, yeah, it's not going to be ruined by a VC or someone buying up all the tokens and voting you out. You know, we're
not your typical NFT project.
Yeah.
Right. It's a game. We're building
Exactly.
a game. We're building a world. And we're meeting at that intersection of gaming and technology and blockchain. It's just very cool. So it's just like the expectations that some might have when it comes to maybe just buying a regular profile picture and looking for specific utility. No, just again, you're you're getting into a game, right? So, which is exciting, and that's why I'm here.
Yeah, totally.
That is super exciting, and I guess since we're putting a lot of the emphasis on the fact that this is a game, one of the questions I feel obligated to ask then is, the gameplay. You said you're building it in Unity, but it's also blockchain assets, which I know, historically from actually starting to build a game on Ethereum way back in the day. I think we're coming up in about 4 years now at this point. There's a lot of nuance to creating activity in the game that is tied to the blockchain in a meaningful way and is able to, record the results such that it actually has an impact on your ownership in the case of, say your champions who end up dying and then the armor goes somewhere. So is that something that, as you've been developing this, you've, found a way to perhaps make it not so distracting in the game itself?
Yeah, that's a great question. I often forget to talk about this one, is that there is a huge team, and that's even outside of, like, you've seen the quotes for the 50 people. That's even outside of that team that has definitely taken the point from, you know, in Top Shot, you can log in with your Gmail, right? And you can pop your credit card and boom, you're where you're going and buying. And then you don't even need to know that you're setting up a wallet or anything, right? That's the level of ease of use that we're looking to build for this. The team is super intense about that. In fact, even when we didn't really have the details about the champions or the game, that's what we were saying is like the core tenet of the game is that it has to be as easy to use as the other Jam City games. That's important. You're right, because I think this is something that's missed out on, is that the opportunity space and demand is far greater than anyone thinks for NFT and blockchain gaming. Even though it is big and you'll see some companies do well right now, look at their onboarding process and just how much friction there is to play their game. It's wild. The average person outside, they can't even set up a MetaMask. You know what I mean? So like and they go beyond that. So some of these games, they're not just even about setting up your wallet. You have to go change to wrapped Ethereum and move to Polygon and back and forth. And you're like, what is going on? And like, there's comp sci people lost, just like completely lost in what's going on. And then you don't trust what's going on. You're like, oh, did I send the money? Wait, why don't I see it? And then it's just confusion. All of this is going to be wrapped. And when I say wrapped, like, it's going to be so simple for the average person to come in and do it. Chris DeWolf, our CEO, he actually just made some quotes about that in the public. I'll be pasting that over in the Discord, but he was saying the same thing. Like, this is going to be the super smooth experience that we have people dedicated, full-time staff just working on that. And you can see that it's possible through Top Shot. You can go on Top Shot and see what a smooth experience could look like for you. And just imagine that being applied to games. So whatever you see Axie or Luvium, everybody doing, just imagine if they were multiplied in ease of use. You'd have the whole world just hopping in playing, right? So the demand out there, I think, is far greater than anyone thinks for a good blockchain game, because we're going to be doing that. And you can still be rest assured that the tokens you're earning in our game, the gear you're crafting, which are all going to be NFTs, pretty much everything inside the game is going to be NFTs and tokens. You're not going to have to go click 1,000 times across like 10 wallets and, you know, do all these wild things. Eventually, when you want to sell, you can try to like extract things and then go sell in OpenSea and do that stuff. But when you're playing the game, it's going to be super simple.
Okay, and that is definitely helpful to know, because that's one of the things that, you know, I've been in the space 4 years now, and even seeing the progression of when I very first onboard and like trying to, you know, as you mentioned, set up a MetaMask, figure out each website and how to interact with those. But then, you know, you try to play the games and like, you know, sometimes it's like, okay, you do an action, now you're submitting a transaction, you wait for that. And it was always a little bit clunky. And that's something that we've seen over the years that has, you know, to varying degrees, you know, people have removed those barriers, but it's always a question that I wonder as people are building new projects, especially ones that are, you know, I think as impressive looking as the one that you have here with the website and the videos, where I'm excited to see it, but also was curious about how that experience itself would play out. So thank you for explaining more about that.
No problem.
And there was actually a question in the chat, which I guess is a follow-up to this, asking if part of the way you're designing that would actually be like a non-custodial wallet for the game, if that's part of your wrapping experience.
Yeah, there is a we have the appetite for all types of wallets. So again, to really highlight like the ease of use, is that we do think there's going to be people still coming in with MetaMask, so to speak, and that's okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there's definitely going to be a type of user that's going to come in and they need the wallet set up for them and handled away from them, and that's something we're building out.
And I think that's really great, because that's one of the things that I think, depending on your level of, you know, comfort or experience with the blockchain, you know, that it was a great starting point, being able to onboard people in a way that feels seamless and is not intimidating. And then as they gain their confidence with the game and want to explore a little bit more, you can use the stepping stones in order to kind of get out into the rest of the metaverse. So this is really exciting. I like that design. And is there, I guess, anything else that either we haven't asked yet or hasn't been answered? Illuscavia looks like he has a point that he'd like to make as well.
Yeah, I was just going to chime in that I just dropped this in the channel text, but everyone should be very careful when looking for the project and trying to mint. Make sure you're following the official website, because there are a lot of scam sites out there already. One of our community members nearly fell for a site that looks like your site, but it's claiming that you can mint now, you can mint up to 3. So that's clearly not right. And since minting isn't even live until tomorrow for whitelist. So everyone, please be very careful and vigilant out there. And both Rude Moose and I have dropped in the stream text a few times. It's champions.io. So please double check the websites before you try to do anything out there.
Only click on the link from, again, we'll make a tweet, right, or from our Discord official links. Our community is always looking out for each other in terms of safety. We're not going to DM you. No links. Again, you guys know, to anyone who's been around, you guys know the tricks of the trade of these scammers, but there are a lot of fake projects coming up here, and we want to make sure that if you're spending your hard-earned ETH on a project, you're getting the real project. You're getting the actual token and the actual Champions Ascension. So thank you for that again. We stress that safety and just official links.
Yeah, that's an amazing call out. It's actually the first AMA where someone was like, hey, safety first. That's very important. Let's put it this way. As equal as there is a big team on this game, there's a large team working on the scam versions of the game. And let me tell you, they're putting a lot of effort into building products and web pages that emulate ours. They probably have a team, you know what I mean? And you can definitely see like they're pretty coordinated in trying to DM people. So we often say in our Discord is just turn off your DMs. Honestly, nothing good will come out of having your DMs open on Discord. There's so many people just putting a lot of effort. I think on the upside is like that team is very excited about this project, and they've allocated a lot of their team to try and pretend they're us. So that means that they see some potential in the project, at least. I hope that they become proper Prime Eternals and they stop scamming people. You know what I mean? But the thing is, where they are at right now in their headspace, they're just willing to put all hours of the day into this. So I wouldn't, honestly, I would block your DMs entirely. Only talk to people that are your friends. Make sure you add friend with them first and you confirm it's them. And there's also a problem with Discord right now. If anyone knows somebody who works at Discord, I would love to speak with them. So Discord is allowing people with the same 4 digits to exist. And that's just a choice that they made, right? So you can have a 0 cool with the same amount of number, like the same numbers that I have in my Discord ID, waltzing around pretending to be 0 cool, right? So don't even trust a DM from someone that looks like me. Discord is allowing, and it has nothing to do with us, Discord is allowing people to log in and have the same IDs. And they might say, oh, under the hood, it's a different ID and so forth. It's not secure. It's not secure when you're allowing people to have the exact same name and the exact same ID on the same Discord or anywhere. And that's what they allow. You might have seen a whole bunch of other Discords get hacked. That's how they got hacked. They had fake versions of the moderators go around and get access. Another security risk that is quite common out there, you might have seen this before, but it typically they only do this to people that are high profile. So unless you ran your own Discord or project, you might not have seen this. They will message you and say that you performed an infraction, but you can't reply to them because they may have even performed this infraction on another server and got you in trouble with your ID. And then what they do, just to make it seem more legit, is they actually get the other server to confirm that you made an infraction on their server, like you cursed or something. And then once they get you involved in that drama, they eventually get you to screen share or click on something, and then boom, your Discord is gone. So that's how several Discords have been completely wiped out in the recent times.
Yeah, definitely. Safety is always very important, and there's something that we actually just posted in our Discord stream text that gives a little bit of extra insight into how to manage your Discord, how to avoid falling for DM scams. Because as you mentioned, people are able to use Nitro to spoof the username with the 4-digit number after the name. But if you enable developer mode in your Discord, then you can actually compare the serial number or the user ID of a Discord account. So that's, a little bit more, Discord savvy, but is a way to verify if the person that you're talking to is the actual person you're talking to, because those cannot be spoofed. So
yes, Candy is 100% correct. If you can manage to get that developer mode on and go and copy the true ID, again, it's I'd love to talk to people.
That saved me a few times.
Yeah, it helps a lot, right? And like I just wish that Discord would change their stance on this and would provide the full unique ID right up front. That would save everybody time, because the people listening right now, like, do you even know how to turn on developer mode? Like, so there's like steps to do it, and then you have to go and then like click some more buttons on people. This could be all done away very easily if Discord wanted to work with us on this.
Definitely a big
Get
learning
zero
curve.
to Discord again after all the champions responsibilities, of course.
Give me 5 minutes with Discord and we'll have this solved. You're going to see the scams reduce like 80%. I don't know, like, why wouldn't they want that, right? But
yeah, it's definitely one of those things where I understand the initial reason for being able to change your 4-digit number, because then you can customize your stuff, but the ability to replicate somebody else's exact combination does make it less than optimal, and is something that, there are going to be a lot of things like that in the space that, requires, again, a lot of, do your own research. Don't just fall for the FOMO and immediately jump on something. Like, make sure that you're researching. Don't click links before you're, checking to make sure that you know who it's from, and if it's an actual, safe link. Don't sign into things with your wallets. Like, these are, things that cannot be overstated in terms of their importance, and is, really important for us as a community to help, keep each other safe as well. So very important for sure. And Rune has also posted an example of the site that is imitating your site.
yeah, they put a lot of work into it, right?
It's I will say, like, in my previous life as, being a developer, because that was what I had done prior to, joining the NFT space full time and working in community. Like, I, have an experience with development, and it's pretty easy to, rip a website and just replicate it. Like, source code is not exactly hard to find if you know where to look. So the amount of work that the scammers put into things might look like a lot, but at the end of the day is a lot of times, a really basic thing. And so we need to make sure that we're being careful. But that's a lot of like dark stuff, and it's definitely important to, understand the gravity of the situation, but also it's not all doom and gloom. Like, we do have cool things happening too. So
Yep, like there's exactly, like, that's one of the things too. This is fun, right? This is something that's using the technology and using the way that we can really connect to people on a whole different level into something that's good and whole, right? So there's going to have to be some of these big companies that come into it, but if it's done right, they have two decisions to make. Do it the right way, which is innovative, new, it's scary because it hasn't really been done yet, or use ways from the old way, from the Web 2 way, to kind of go in where, as we all know, human behavior is just different. in this Web 2 space versus the Web 3 space. So it's about finding that line. We're all kind of figuring this out, and it's having some sort of a safer environment with the backing of a company like Jam City. I think that was the part that really put me ablaze and really solidified it for me. I was like, okay, this is going to be worth committing all of my time and energy working on this community, because I know it's got the backing of this and X, Y, and Z, knowing that they have the experience making these games and are willing to, roll up the sleeves and dive into the Web3 space in the right way. Right? They hired someone with an NFT photo on their LinkedIn profile picture, right? So, that's how you know that. That's how you know they're serious.
Haven't quite got to that level, but I'm pretty serious anyway.
I went right in. I was like, all right, with this, I gotta hide this mug on the LinkedIn anyway. I'm in the NFT space. I might as well have a cartoon image of my perceived self
So
on LinkedIn. And
to
it
be
worked.
totally fair though, like I also have never used an NFT as my social image, so it's always just
Gotcha.
been my own avatar. So I guess that's been an
That was
interesting thing.
that was the fun part, right? I look back on my time as a ninth grader who, back then I really cared what other people thought, right? Because again, I was a child, and just the culture of my environment. I was just like, okay, what am I gonna do? Does this look good for my profile picture? Is this the good? I was like, nope. I'm a dog. I'm a monkey. I'm whatever we so choose to be. So it made the whole process very fun. And I was off like the Web 2 for a while. I was ready to go live on a farm until I found Top Shot. I was like, all right, I'm done with this little internet thingy.
Why not do both?
Right. Oh, we're getting there. We have the we can make it happen. But it was just like, all right, this technology can either be used for awesomeness and good, or it can be used to destroy us all. And so let's join Team Good, right? Let's join Team Build.
Very good. Well, and your team is most definitely building. This looks amazing. So exciting. I think this is maybe a good point to wrap it up for today. So that way people who have work to do can, you have a lot of things to build.
We got a long day.
You do have a long day because you have less than 24 hours now until the first minting happens.
Absolutely.
So for people who are still looking to get in, there's the whitelist, there's the ability to join the Discord, and also keep an eye on their social media. There's still, I think, a little bit of opportunity potentially to get on that list. So, and as you can see, even on the Twitter right there, the only place that minting will be available is at the champions.io. So make sure you're heading into the right spot, regardless of which day you're minting, whether it's tomorrow during the early mint or on Friday during the public sale. So those are really exciting. But both Squiddy and Zero Cool, thank you so much for joining Ilaskavia and I today and telling us about this amazing project. We're so excited to see you continue to develop and grow in space and see where you can take this, knowing, kind of the firepower you have behind it.
Thanks for having us, Candy. And again, I'm just happy I get to call you a friend. I'm glad we got to work together and just being around this space too. It's what a lovely time chatting, and I can't wait until the next time.
I am so excited. Once it gets launched and we get the gameplay, we'll have to have you back to do some demos.
Oh, that's when my job really starts too. Once we kind of get going, and I can go on to these other, I'm excited to work with people who are going back to my time with Top Shot starting. I started because I spent all of my time there because I loved the product and I loved what it was. There are going to be people who are doing Champions streams, right? In terms of game, right? There are going to be people who are making Champions content. And for those who are going to be spending time making content like that, I'm excited to work with them, and I'm excited to, hop on their streams. I'm excited to just chat with them as we continue to bring this thing worldwide. So thanks again, Candy. So much love and appreciation.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely.
All right. With that, we will end the stream. We'll make sure, for people who want to catch the recap, we'll have this on the YouTube, the Twitch. It's still on Twitter, so people will be able to catch that recap if you want to share that out for people to get caught up. And we will look forward to your launch starting tomorrow. Have a good day, everybody. Thanks for stopping by.